Welcome, my ever amazing pupils. Today's lesson promises to be fun. You're going to learn a lot using simple ways. We've looked at the informal letter. Today's lesson will focus on the formal letter, but we're going to be looking at a particular type of the formal letter. Okay? Now, before we go further, let me quickly remind you of what a formal letter is. It is that letter that is written to people that we are not familiar with, okay? Examples of such letters are letters we write in search of a job. Others include the letter of complaint, reference letters, recommendation, resignation, thank you, interest, and all that. Now, our focus is going to be on the letter of application. The letter of application. The letter of what? Application. Now, what does it mean? When you say you're writing application letters, you're writing letters in search of a job. Okay? Now, before we go further, I want us to quickly go through the parts of a formal letter. At the end of your letter, you would have this format that is about to come up on your screen now. It would appear like this. Okay? You have this in your work. So let's just review the parts of the formal letter before we go back to the letter of application. You have the addresses, that's the writer's address and the receiver's address. You have the dates that is written in form of a sentence. We have the salutation, the dear sir and dear madam. Next, we have the heading, which in this case is the application for the post of a classroom teacher. Closely following that is the body. And then we have the complementary clause, which can also be called the closing. Okay, now let's move into our main work for today. Using an application letter to explain the parts of a formal letter. Okay, let's see our question. Write a letter to the administrator of Children's Academy Nursery and Primary applying for the post of a classroom teacher. Now, before we go further, I want you to take note of some points. They are very important in writing an application letter. Make sure these points are part of you. The first thing is reviewing information about the organization you're applying to. You have to review information. Okay, you spend some time reviewing information about the organization and post you're applying for. You compare your qualifications and experience with the skills required for that position. Here you may also think about specific experience that have prepared you for the position you're applying for. Okay, after that you go straight into your address and date. It's very important to include your address because it makes it easier for the hiring manager or personnel to follow up with you regarding the position. So I have my address boldly written. You can write yours now. When you're done with that, we'll move on to the next stage, which is the receiver's address. The receiver's address. Okay, you have to know this so that your letter can be properly addressed. The administrator, Children's Academy Nursery and Primary, plus 49/50, Garrick Layout, off Siloko Road, Benin City. So this is where I'm writing to. If I'm done with that, I move on to the third stage, the salutation and heading. That one is quite explanatory. Okay, now I have dear sir or madam, application for the post of a classroom teacher. I am done with that. I will go to the next stage. Open the letter by stating your interest. In the first paragraph of your letter, you can mention the job title for which you're applying and where you saw the position posting. Okay, you can include your interest in the role. This section has to be well written and concise. It's a section that draws in the hiring manager, so it's important to appeal to that person quickly. So when you're done with that, you have something like this. I am writing this letter in response to your advertisement posted about a requirement for the post of a classroom teacher in your institution. I would like to apply for that position. So we're done with the first paragraph now. we can now move on to the next stage. Here, you outline your experience and qualifications. That's the second paragraph. The next few paragraphs of this letter should highlight your experience, qualifications, and skills, and it should be positioned in a way that aligns with the school's goals and mission. So, if you're applying for the post of a teacher, which we're doing in this case, you have to talk about your experience in a school that you once taught in. Okay? Don't forget that including details about your experience as it relates to the position you are applying to can never be overemphasized. You have to pay attention to this. So when you're done with this, you have something like this. I received my diploma in education 2 years back, and I have since worked as a teacher at Noble Crest Nursery and Primary School. Yours can be more than this. You can include the fact that you left school with a first class, blah blah blah, whatever it is that you want to add. Okay, it can be better than this, but you must make sure that here is where you outline your experience and qualifications. Don't add to it. When you're done with that, you can now move on to the next paragraph, which has to do with including aspects of your personality. When writing a letter, you have to consider how you can incorporate aspects of your personality. It will be good for the reader to get an idea of how well you might fit in with the theme. So, since you're writing for the post of a classroom teacher, you can explain in your letter that you are good at connecting with children. So, when you're done with this, you have something like this on your screen. My education and work experience have taught me a lot about the profession, and to my delight, I have loved every bit of it. I possess the patience and enthusiasm for the job, and I know I am competent enough to manage and teach young children. I continue in the same paragraph. I have come to understand from the time I have spent with them that they do not judge. They don't see color, flaws, or faults. All they can see is the potential for a new friend. I have learned from them that tolerance is a lesson none of us should forget. With this, I can move on to the next stage. And this is where I make reference to my resume if it is attached to my letter. Okay? So I am excited about this opportunity and request you consider my application for the same position as advertised. Please find more details of my education and past experience in the attached resume. I can be contacted on both email and phone. That is, if you have the your mail and your phone number written in your resume. And then you express appreciation. This is the last paragraph. Okay, the hiring personnel is taking out time to read what you have written. So expressing your gratitude for that time spent is a polite and professional way to close your document. Okay, so you have to express appreciation, and that moves you smoothly to this. Thank you for making out time out of your busy schedule to read my application and look forward to working with you. I think this will put a smile on the hiring personnel's face, and then you close your letter. Okay, since it's a formal letter, I just write yours faithfully. My signature comes in Lillian John Bosco. Your name fits in here. Okay, you can only write Lillian John Bosco if your name is Lillian John Bosco. So this is it for the letter. Now let's do a recap of all that we learned in today's lesson. The first thing I told you was that the letters of application, letters written in search of a job, and we have these parts: the addresses, the date, salutation, the heading, the body, and of course we have the complementary clause, which can also be called the closing. We talked about the points to take note of when writing an application letter. We have to review information about the organization we are applying to. We have to look at the addresses, your own address and that of the receiver. Of course, I have the date. You have to open the letter by describing your interest. You have to outline your experience and qualifications. You have to include aspects of your personality. You have to make reference to your resume if it is attached. And of course, you express appreciation before your closing. We looked at the different types of formal letters. We have the complaints, the reference, and all that. And then your formal letter structure is boldly written on the screen. You can see that. Now, these are the letters of application. They are not very clear. The purpose is not for you to read what is in there. It's for you to see how well it is neatly arranged. Okay, so that is it for today's lesson. But before I go, I will leave you with this. Don't make excuses, okay? Make improvement. Give yourself reasons why you must study hard. Don't give yourself reasons why you shouldn't study hard, or why you shouldn't do my assignments, or why you shouldn't do things that will improve your life, okay? Until I come your way next time, it's bye from me. Stay safe and be good.